Should I call them back in?
We are just live now, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining this session. Good to see everybody here. So, as you may know from our previous sessions, please let us know where you're watching from in the chat. If you have any comments during the session, please put them into the chat. Also, if you have any questions, there is a Q&A available at the bottom of the screen. Also at the bottom of the screen will be available for this session sign language interpretation. So please do turn that on if you are wanting to use that. But for now, I will let our panel begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Good afternoon, everyone. We're privileged to be part of this session. Coming from Suva, Fiji, I have Fiji Red Cross with me, and we are accompanied by our community members from Naviango Lautoka, as well as our partners with University of Technology, Sydney, Institute for Sustainable Futures, to share Pacific community perceptions and experiences of resilience under our Session 1 integration. Please allow me to go through the session outline, but also introducing myself. My name is Christine Lemau, and Program Director for ADRA-Fiji, and I will be moderating the session today. We have two main sections of the session. Session 1 is going through panel discussions with our community based on the work recently conducted in partnership with UTS, Institute of Sustainable Futures, and we're also fortunate to have the voice and the sharing from our Fiji Red Cross Society in their work with community resilience in the community. So for our session agenda, we have the panelists, including 3 of our partners that are here today. Later on, we also have question and answers that is supported by our colleagues from the Institute of Sustainable Futures, Anna Gero and Tazrina. Throughout panel discussion, we will be sharing experiences from the community and also work conducted by the Fiji Red Cross. And we will also share with you the work that has been done with the Naviango village to help programs be informed with the community resilience framework. And we will have the question and answer session. Often how we perceive resilience in the Pacific has been heavily also influenced by the amount of investment that's done in the Pacific with community projects and programs. In this session, we hope to be able to share how we have engaged communities to be able to help us effectively process the learning about resilience, highlight the need for civil society organization based on our experience working in community development programming, to engage communities, integrate their perspectives, ensure that we intentionally include them through all stages of programming with participatory methods, but also ensuring that the diverse community voices are heard and also seriously considered when we work with community programs for resilience building. I will take this time to hand over and introduce our panelists. I have a Fiji Red Cross disaster officer with us, Ms. Una. And for the members who are online, please, I'd like to invite you to also acknowledge that our members of the panelists will be sharing also in the Itauke local language. that will be supported and translated by our field officers in the West, and myself and Ms. Una as well. Ms. Una?
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Bulabinaka. My name is Unaisi, and I'm the Disaster Management Officer at here in Fiji Red Cross Society. And it's a pleasure to be on this platform. Naka.
Thank you. I will hand over now to our Naviango Village in Lautoka community representative.
Natango like tambadede o nasi kortiko na viamo wana vitavana saud.
Bulabinaka, my name is Leite Tambadede. She's Leite Tambadede, and she's a community health worker for Naviango Village in Lautoka.
Welcome, Leite.
Naka, nagago sa kreasyon to au tiwul tabangon Naviango kor tiro ito.
Our second representative is Sakaraya Sautitonga, and he is the youth leader for Naviango Village as well. And I'm Paulini. I will be assisting with the translation today. And we're also joined by our program manager in the West.
Ilimeleki Kanyan, project manager here at ADRA-Fiji in Lautoka.
Thank you to the team in Lautoka, and welcome once again, Leite, Sakaraya, and Ms. Una. We'll get right into our panel discussions, and I will lead through with some guiding questions, and please feel free to answer both in the local language to be translated and also in English. So, Ms. Leite, in your role in Naviango, what does being resilient mean to the women in your community? And also as your role in the community health worker?
Naka mana venga una sauti mana na bukila na bosa kuna mengori na venga una sauti ada kina na lenga tumbukoso bakana walu kina danglamba sarara kina biyau ne tutu bakatina me bakaleswa kina nambula kina kene tu bakindina. Andrevi merongo di nanto voi kema minamara mamera ni daka taki. Nanimento bebu kei bakamarama.
Thank you. Leite just briefly shared her experience and understanding of the word resilience. In essence, there is no one to describe resilience in the local dialect. What they share would be their personal experiences relating to any kind of disasters that they may have experienced in the past. So in that regard, she described resilience as her ability to bounce back, to be able to quickly and try to bring her family life back to normal as it was prior to the disaster. So she also explained that the type of disaster that she has experienced in the past are predominantly flooding and cyclone, because that is what we normally experience in the Western Division in Lautoka. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leite, for sharing that. So in the Itaukei language, there is no specific word that describes resilience. So that brings into question how we even conduct awareness or define increasing in knowledge for our traditional communities would be around what Leite has shared through their experiences and how they're able to bounce back after experiencing shocks, any emergency or disaster. And she had also mentioned that the first aspect of resilience would be ensuring that the family is able to bounce back and then working with the community to be able to normalize at the community level. Mr. Zachariah, in your leadership role with the youth and with the community, how can you ensure that you're promoting diverse community participation in decision for building resilience?
Napa, sa mga numulitar na tarwalita tunguan kaya na nagkoro kaya lutu wakarsto. Lutu wakarsto kiba mi makabauta doon nakalupa yung kikima. Tayo na daw lako sila kiba mi nalang kanyang katong koso. May baka na lamba na walu kina vika iso doon lako sila ni manwa si sila na mawiti kiba mi sige daw alibe kiba ni makabauta. Karena ni memang kau teroni kimami yang kau rumah ni seorang rendre, kaya setabi kina na walu rangi lamba kina veka taleso, atai na ni mami dau veka wita ke sekian vekima, veka wita kira veka kima kore pada ni nora wali, pada ni nora tei serat terbi rati ko makalek, sekian ni kau terbi kima ni mami makan bauta, ni mami buat tira. Na lenga ya bibira na ngau ya dokti na lenga tukos kere katur ni dau sosele bak na kotre sile kima mi nakar do bakator ni bikat na ngau ni do su ka do rawa na veka ya do lo ni manua sena do na buwa sena ka do na ka lo man lenga tukos do ya do ngati na bakala bata kena lama bata ya dokti na sosele bak na lang tunde ni lo mani koro se tigo na ne mami so se ba endona ka me ro ni todo talikina i ba ali endona ka lo mani wanua se lo mani tigo se lo mani ubali ni mami so se ba ki ni wali sitale mai na vika e pa dia na la glamba se no wolu na vale.
Thank you. Zachariah briefly mentioned the two main things about how they address the issue of promoting diverse community participation in decision making. In traditional Itauke communities, one of the things that is that holds us together, or one of our main ways of coping, is our faith. Our faith has been the foundation of everything that we do in the community, and as such, when you're talking about faith and how that supports or promote diverse community participation in decision making, he says that it's because of this that the community see or practices the community encourages diverse participation. So there is no discrimination because they have this faith as a foundation of everything that they do. So when we're looking at Naviamo as a community, they would say that they ensure that everybody's needs is addressed. So whether it be flooding or cyclone, no one is left behind. They don't focus attention only on the male members of society, despite the fact that it's a patriarchal society, but everybody's need is taken into account, and everybody's voices, they try as much as possible to take that into account because it's essential for their ability to be able to move forward as a community. Another concept he shared, which is very particular to our culture, is Sole Solevaki. In the face of disaster, people come together. There is no there is no individual approach. It's a communal approach. And that is how they encourage this participation at different levels of community. So people are heard and they have different grouping. For example, they have the women's group, the men's group, and the youth group. They have their own meetings. And whatever they have decided is brought onto the platform where the community will sit and make decisions. So that is an example of where Naviamo is practicing or trying to promote diverse community participation in decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachariah, for sharing that with us. Faith and Sole Solevaki, which is one of the strong pillars for traditional Itauke communities. I will now ask my colleague Unaisi around how civil sector can effectively contribute to community resilience.
Thank you, Christine. So for Fiji Red Cross, even though we're not a civil society, I believe that we play an auxiliary role to the government and we make an immense contribution to community resilience. At the end of the day, to see positive change and support in building resilience at the community level, a few works that we do. First, we do community advocacy and awareness, along with our DM structure, how we do preparedness, response and recovery. Our resilience team works on the ground for us, where they are our arms and legs to the community. They raise awareness about resilience issues within our target communities and advocate for practices that promote resilience. And this may include disaster preparedness, climate change adaptation, and social and economic empowerment. Another aspect would be capacity building. This is where Fiji Red Cross also provides training and capacity building programs to empower community members with the knowledge and skills they need in order to respond to challenges effectively. Yeah? A tool that we use in our resilience program is IVCA, which is Integrated Vulnerability Capacity Assessment. This is a comprehensive tool that allows us to engage with our communities, to identify their strengths and vulnerabilities, and develop targeted strategies to enhance their preparedness for disasters. Yeah? So this is actually a package training that includes all our core programs trainings from disaster, health, resilience, youth, JESI, and volunteer management. A good example would be last year in August, we had worked in a community in Navua, namely Taipere settlement. And this is where we had conducted this tool, IVCA, which helped us to better understand the vulnerabilities and capacities of the community members who primarily rely on subsistence farming. The Fiji Red Cross made a deliberate decision to assist the families in educating them about resilience and following up with our branch supports, branch visits, to make sure that that the implementations of resilience projects were successful. Yeah.
Thank you, Una. I just want to maybe check back with Sakaraya and Delight. Una shared around supporting communities with the resilience project. Would you have anything to share around some of your climate change adaptation examples in the community that you've been implementing or that has been successful? Working with women in your body system?
Thank you. Latest just sharing about the backyard gardening approach that the women have taken on board. Please note that not everyone has access to land, so they can have their own backyard garden, but they have been able to use things that are available to them, like containers for those that don't have or don't belong to a land owning unit. What they have done is actually use containers that are around their homes to actually plant in these containers to provide for their families. So backyard gardening they have moved it to another level. Instead of sitting back and saying that we don't have land, they have taken an approach and be innovative in their approach to use containers available, and they build shelves and racks to put this somewhere close to their community to be also safe for the women to access. Because normally gardening is done outside of the community boundaries. So when they have backyard garden for women, it's within close reach to the woman, so she doesn't have to go further. Thank you.
Pinaka Laite. Just to all the panelists, based on your experiences, how can we ensure that community's perspective has been considered and prioritized at different stages of project? Often we start with designing projects, we implement, we monitor, and we exit, wonderfully reported. But this is an opportunity for you to share with us and inform us how maybe we can consider other approaches around ensuring communities' perspective is prioritized and also considered during projects.
Tuwani mami vanua, tuwani vanua kwe tuwani tumembale tari tuwani dona magawa, ke dona vula, ke dona mbak. Na tuwa e va muriti wana ngau. Matai, e va kai dona tuwa la kwani me pai to na ndau, na kwani na ndau le va kasatan. E mami vanua me va na komiti ni NGO na kandianra. Se resumi matangani soko vera la ko ni tua ni panua e tua vera na la ko ma kamera la ko na sana la ko na roko sangi la ko me turani koro sangi tadi wa na bi mata soko ko e chugo lo moni ko chugo moni ko mera va data ni tua ko la ko mari tua ni vi soko ko la ko ni me pinda kata na be buke ene mami vanua se ne buke na beka ni vato da ketaki era rumba ni vanua e bakani se tuoto e yutu e dutra tu ni tuoto ni vanua e la ko ni tuoto ni kota ni tuoto ni matari tu e se la ko ni na mabi turanga roko sana pakutari vi turani koro sange kaya ba kayo na nabi mata songo baka na songo ni marama songo ni garobo kana ngone leo narachi we baka ndota e tu ni matentu ko la ko rumani ke na bi songo era la ko me levator da keta ke ni mai banua ele vengo na ki mai la ko rumo tira chinga na wale.
Thank you so much. Zachariah just briefly shared one of the things that he feels is important is for future projects is for civil society organization to follow existing traditional structures when approaching the village for any future projects. And this is very important. The success of the project also will depend on how well we engage with the relevant partners. So he's actually describing the tiers of engagement. He's mentioning the importance of arranging and meeting first with the provincial council, who then will follow through and contact the village headman, the village headman would then bring the information down about the project to the community. So these are the existing structures that are very important to follow through with any project that we try to implement in the community for it to be able to be sustainable and for the communities to be able to take ownership of the project. If we do not follow this, there is a high chance of this project not being successful.
Kuliah na biket kuna sakaraya mana ikan mi pakai tapi kita na usongo na ngana ni bakasumo ni kinana itukutuku ni indona kaida kama na tikumena kana plan taki wachinga implement taki kaida kana monitoring and evaluation what sangai davana project sangai sustainability nak sarwali.
Okay, Later, on her part, shared the importance of engaging, not just engaging for the sake of ticking the box, but he's saying that to be intentionally engaged, so that they are approached and they are engaged from the very beginning when we are designing projects, so we consult them. Also, they want to be involved during the planning, where possible, during the implementation, monitoring and evaluation, and also during the exit stages. This is important based on previous experience for sustainability. What they have shared during our discussion is the importance of taking this into account, because so often when we implement project, at the end of the project, we want them to actually sustain And because there is no community ownership, this is where it all fails. So whatever has been achieved has not been able to be carried forward by the community because they have not been engaged, hence the need for them to be involved. Thank you.
Pinakawakalevo Sakaraya and Laite, the consideration for project implementers to understand the structure of community, a traditional hierarchy where information is relayed, where we call for action, including understanding that women, youth, and men have heavy schedules in the community, but we must acknowledge and also follow some of these protocols if we really want the community to be prioritized at all stages of the project. How about you, Ona? Have you got any tips for us?
Yeah, so just to add on from the two, Fiji Red Cross, I believe that how we do things, because we train volunteers, we train our volunteers in our communities.
So the volunteers are from the community?
Yeah, from the community. We have the disaster committees in these specific targeted communities. And when we train them, we ensure that they are ready for disasters. And with that, they're able to be part of other projects for resilience or other projects. That's to do within the community. I believe that we also do, like I mentioned, continuous support visits. And this is to ensure that the successful implementation and monitoring and evaluation of the project is seen to it until the end.
Thank you, Una. I think we can take on some good lessons from the sharing of our community voices around ensuring that communities' perspectives are considered and prioritized. Just moving on to sharing on the community resilience framework. We piloted a research-based component that is participatory with the community from Nabiango, that Sakaraya and Laite are from earlier this year. So the partnership was established between UTS, Institute for Sustainable Futures, and ADRA-Fiji, using the community resilience framework to inform how we can monitor and learn from how communities learn about monitoring for community resilience. So the primary objective of this research was to explore community perspective on resilience using the framework that was developed. And we conducted these earlier visits with the Nabiango village, with the application and testing of the framework, but really being open to learn about how the communities are receptive to the framework, how they inform about the learning on the monitoring and evaluation, around a project that was conducted earlier with the community in Nabiango under our Pro-Resilience project. So we have the community resilience framework that was developed by Anna and her colleagues from UTS. They're also online, so feel free to ask any questions during the question and answer session. The community resilience framework is based on 5 main factors for any transformative action, considering how we impact on decision making, how we're inputting on knowledge, how we also input or act on their thoughts and ideas, and around the people, health, and environment, which is clustered under one area on working with community resilience with the community. So under the 5 different sections for transformative action, how we would be able to measure communities' responses to disturbance, while also ensuring that we do not take away the community's identity, their ways of working, nor do we alienate them from the level of our intervention, so that communities are able to define transformative action to what they understand, rather than what is being introduced into the community, but also considering the aspects of change in terms of behavior, relationship, how policies and practices are informed from the community's ed, and we may also be able to reflect anticipatory action in responses to early warnings to reduce the risks for community. And the decision making in the area of leadership and governance, how this will include ensuring participation of diverse voices within the communities, men and women, youth, young people, people living with disabilities, and how the level of decision making based on the community's experiences, and how this is able to be sustained through ongoing leadership, and how the communities manage their community life. In terms of knowledge, the combination of local and external knowledge from the learning, the early learning during the consultation with the community. There's a greater element that we use strength-based principle by prioritizing the culture and cultural knowledge, their ways of knowing, and also bringing in external knowledge only as needed. For example, now with climate change projections about sea level for Naviano, I believe the community shared that they have the community coastal line area is 5 meters into what it used to be for the last 10 years. When we conduct community engagement or climate change adaptation actions, the community have already adapted into this transition. However, when external knowledge is brought in, how it builds on their current experiences, challenges, rather than new definitions that the communities may struggle to understand as well. In terms of thoughts and attitudes, incorporating a willingness to accept change and respond and adapt. For a resilient community, their willingness is also a measure that the community shared with us to accept new ways of doing things, to take on knowledge about climate change. And the last component about people, health, and environment, acting in balance within the biophysical limits to support the healthy, thriving community, just recognizing the need to work within the limits of the environment, which may change as a result of climate and disaster risk, but also ensuring that the people are a center of building community resilience, and with their culture and values that comes with it. So for this research, the research outputs will be coming later in the year, towards the end of the year. And we have our colleagues online as well who are available for any questions or queries or clarification around the research for community. And we also have Una here, who is able to share as well in terms of community engagement for resilience building. So for the community resilience framework, I'm just sharing the context of our wonderful ladies from UTS online, Anna Guerrero, Tasrina, and also Karen, who've been part of the leading of the community engagement over the past few months. So I give time now for any questions from the audience. Please feel free, and I will need to check the chat. Katie, I might need help with going through the questions.
Yeah, no problem. I can read them out to you if you like, and then if you maybe like to divvy them up to the correct panelists.
Great, that would be good.
Okay, so the first question I can see says, I may have missed out on this earlier. Interested to hear the types of present projects in Navayaga and using one discuss sustainability post-project timeline and to ensure that it doesn't fall on one group, most cases, the mothers and women.
Okay, so the question was on the different projects in Naviango?
Yes, I believe they would be interested in discussing the sustainability and the post-project timeline to ensure that it doesn't fall on one group, for example, mothers and women.
So we have Paul, maybe if you can relate to Laite and Sakurai.
Project na sa meta na project and donate to wetiko na lomanikor na kana sustain tak na vita sa meta rawat na project kimami namar ani mami record Wilkal ni mami record na ni mami backyard garden ndo na bubale ndo na backyard garden nilaka nikimami paruta kanda na bubale natumani ko tahu anything on
Moderator, just to translate, I'm Ilmeleki. This project that was implemented, it was a pro-resilience project, and part of it was the backyard gardening. Eh? So now the sustainability of that project, now the women's group actually continue with that backyard gardening, eh? So that they are able to produce their own food. And they actually put a program, like a timetable, that each woman from each household should have a backyard garden. And they normally inspect it on a monthly basis. So on a monthly basis, eh? They actually go around the community of Naviango to check on those backyard gardens. Eh? And it's part of a collective work, and the community actually take it seriously when it's being judged in the public. Eh? That each woman has to have a backyard garden.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe the second part of the question, was it on sustainability at the community level? Una, would you like to contribute to that? Katie, is it that ensuring that there's not just a specific focus on women and a targeted group in the community for sustainability?
Yes, I believe so. I believe Anna's also mentioned that the village reps maybe covered this earlier, going through local structures and getting community buy-in. So maybe elaborate more on that side of it.
Yeah, so in terms of targeting in the community, if the work is targeted with women or youth or particular groups, what Sakurai had shared earlier, that even if you work with a specific target group, following the traditional structure strengthens the support by other groups. So with the decision-making, with the leaders, they will be able to support women. And it doesn't mean that it's just the women who are directly benefiting. If the communities accept the project, the whole community will will contribute to ensure that the project is successful and also sustainable. But Una, your thoughts?
I agree with what you just said, Christine. If the community does have that same mindset as the implementers, then the project does seem to go on well. It's successful. This is one thing that we try our best to do to help change the mindset of the people or their behaviors. And this is something that we see changes throughout the project. As they become more well-informed and more hands-on with the project, then we see that the project does actually become successful, because everybody is inclusive and well-informed. Yeah.
Thank you, Una. Again, let me just highlight that this is in the context of what we participated in with the Naviango community. Every community is different, but we're using the strength-based approach where projects can be sustainable on exit from communities. Katie, sorry, I'll need your help around any other questions? We're
No
going
problem.
into our final 10 minutes, and I'd like to also invite any inputs from Tazrina and Anna.
I can pass on another question if you like. We do have one from Lilu, who says, how can we ensure/encourage GEDSI, gender equality, disability, and social inclusion considerations in community resilience work?
Great, very good question. We may be able to answer in two folds. One, from the community lens that our reps have shared earlier. For community resilience, in the case of Naviango, one of the challenges is the definitions by our language as project implementers and the actual understanding of JETSI for community in the community resilience building. I think if you have heard earlier what Leiter had shared is if the program is relayed through their traditional way, through the community leadership, the women, persons with disability will be more considered or supported in the program for resilience building. But if we're defining from our indicators as project implementers without helping the communities to understand, that is something that's likely going to impact community resilience work. But I'll also hand over to the team if they have any inputs into it. Yeah.
Yeah, so if Mr. Sakurai and Laite won't say anything, I'll just go on. So as I've mentioned, the tool that we use, IVCA, our JESI program, the gender program, also does the training in communities for resilience and disaster, whereby they educate or they train our targeted communities on how they can be inclusive, using the 5 principles of 5 principles, when they ensure that inclusivity at all levels in the communities. So from our people with special needs, our women, our disabled communities, and so forth, so that in decision makings, all is heard. Yeah.
Thank you, Una. Any other questions that we may have missed?
I'll go with this next question. It's a question to Ms. Una of the Red Cross. How does the Red Cross select communities to work in? What are the procedures in place for a community to obtain capacity training and awareness?
Thank you, Madam. So we work with maritime disaster management, sorry, and they are the ones that choose the communities for us. So if they give us 10 targeted communities, yeah, then we will go ahead and work with these communities. Yeah.
But these are based on their vulnerability.
Yeah, based on their vulnerabilities and climate change issues that they're facing. So these are actually given to us as part of our project plans for the year.
Great. Thank you, Una. I think additional to that, while we work directly with the Ministry of Rural Maritime, at divisional level, there's always coordination to see if there is a risk of overlapping with other actors into the community. So that is really robust to be able to ensure that if the 10 communities are not have already got development partners there, then we can share with other communities as well. If there are no other questions, maybe we will.
do have quite a few questions actually.
Okay,
I don't think we will get around to all of them, unfortunately, in the time we have. Just having a look at the different questions that we have. I'll go with the next one along in the queue, which says, my question is on the terms of intentional engagement. How were you all able to bring people together to actually unite in achieving a common goal or task? And what motivated them to fully engage in diverse community projects? Sorry.
Okay. Una, would you like to answer that?
I didn't really hear that question.
So how do we ensure intentional community engagement that that is able to just finally able to put up the question? Is this from the chat, Katie? Sorry.
This is from the Q&A. Would you like me to reread it? It says, my question is on the terms of intentional engagement. How were you all able to bring people together to actually unite in achieving a common goal or task? And what motivated them to fully engage in diverse community projects?
Okay. I think in the case of Naviago, the acceptance by the traditional community leaders, and if the community is strong traditionally, there is no need for implementers to come and bring people together. If they're strong in their faith, if they're strong in the Sole Solevaki, that facilitates the pathway to be able to bring people together. If we come in and ask for everyone to come in without following the traditional structures, the likelihood is that we won't be able to bring people together for a common goal or outcome.
Yes. Are you needing another question?
Yes, I would think we have.
I think we have time. Yes, I think we have time for some more. We have one from the Vanuatu Hub. It says, in terms of inclusion, does it also involve SOGIE, other diverse genders? As we all know, in a community, there are many different groups, and it is vital to be able to reach out to all kinds of groupings in a community. How do you actively involve such groups? Thanks.
This is a caveat, and I'll share the experience that we have with Naviago. Again, different communities have different acceptance level of persons of diverse OGS. But in the engagement that we have in the community resilience framework, we didn't see or observe any non-acceptance in terms of the youth the youth leadership had persons of diverse soldiers who was leading programs confidently. And when we asked them, it was mainly because they were not singled out for being persons of diverse soldiers. They were just being actively designated roles to be part of the community. So in that respect, when the Turangani Koro or the community headman relays messages to the community, everyone, including persons of diverse soldiers, understand their traditional roles. So they come into the community hall with that lens. As active members who are required in their community to actively participate and contribute. Again, this is from the small sample of Nabiango village, but I'm also happy to hear from other cases where this is not the case.
Well, that's definitely what we also face, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Christine. Different genders and people, This is, like you mentioned, from the traditional setup and how things are. If all is well and accepted from the head, then everybody is included, Yeah.
Thank you. I hope that answers the question, Katie, and maybe one more. We have 4 minutes.
Yeah, I think we can fit in one more. I'll go with this last question then. A woman in the community, they're usually busy with their daily routine household work. Sometimes this results in them missing out in other community development work, such as community resilience work. How do you work around this issue to get full participation of women?
Right. So again, I'll share about the experience with Naviano. They're quite specific from the start that you don't come to the village anytime before 8 a.m. until at least 11, when all the village women have prepared their children to go to school, breakfast for their husbands and working women. And so we have to adapt our time to be with the community so they are part of the community resilience when they are available and not according to our tight schedules or program. So in a day, we would go there 3 times because that's what works with the community rather than our 8 to 4 program. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe it would be nice to have any final remarks or comments from the community members before we close this session.
Carl? Santona naman raw boss na nubitokan?
Ayo, wala binabalimantangan yung may tsura na atau taruh balik juga nunggu banua. Ngatai di sana kau buli daramai kira nabi kai umi na tiang. Jadi itu sa rumah ni na manipura na biang orang na ruang na orang Australia, ketika kalau orang Bangladesh, kalau cari juga ka perintah nabi kai apa juga na membantu. Ya, wabah bilang valeu di Gapelangon dan orang itu komendante. Meu wasaya na veka ke ruchala ko ruma ke na veka ke man sutawa ke na veka na sawoti ke na mi barani baba warta ki wanen kina na ka saktu mate ki man na veka na saktu ki mai veka na saktu li to do chuan tu wa na wale sara na corona via musti tu la poro musti man di banua do chuan wa na wale sara na somo na ra akirna dingtak na corona via mo mai Wajar takat tu nak gunakan ikan televisi orang ukur macam itu nasi macam mana? Cakap
Nakabakalev Sakaraya Kelaite. Also like to acknowledge Unaisi from Fiji Red Cross and also our colleagues from UTS in Australia. Nakabakalev Katie.
Thank you, everyone. This session will now come to a close. I believe the session that is running at the same time as this will also be closing very soon. We will have a break after these sessions of 30 minutes, so do feel free to explore the platform. You can meet up with other colleagues or friends in the lounge area and discuss some of the sessions there, and then we will be restarting the next session in about 30 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Naka.
Ah,